when it's small. That way we can have some open conversation and some open dialogue. My goal for today on this call is really to kind of like just dive in if we're still gonna have like a small intimate group and see where in any part of your business, whether you're starting out or whatever the case may be, whatever you have going on, I need to know the one thing you need help on, and we're gonna try to execute that on this call today. Whether it's talking to sellers, talking to builders, whatever it is in your business that you need, I don't care if we got to go in a line. That's what we're doing today. So we ain't got to put nobody in the spot, but we definitely gonna need a volunteer to go first. Who want to pop it off?
I don't mind going first. Um, so as you know, I've been working with Alan since I want to say November,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't closed the deal yet. We did have a contract, but I feel like it would have probably we could have done better with the underwriting because we didn't know that it was on a canal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then even sometimes when he'll send me deals, it'll be on market, and I'm like, wait, did you
Mm-hmm.
not know it was on market? So that then we're kind of working backwards. So I feel like underwriting could be strengthened, as well as just having the conversations with these sellers and better negotiation tactics because all of the sellers who are interested, Island says, are like unrealistic with their price.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, as you know, we haven't had texting, so we just been heavy on the cold calling, just cold calling a
Gotcha.
lot. So I think for me, just I don't know if we need to do more out of the box type of situations or things. I was telling Alan maybe we need to create our Facebook page and put landing pages to try to get people's attention to see if maybe something like, do you want to know what your property is worth or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
um, maybe just marketing, hey, are you put houses, new construction houses, and maybe just saying, are you looking for a custom built home or selling custom homes or something like that, new landing pages, just to kind of get people outside of just calling and texting. So
Got
anything that you have is helpful because we need a deal.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So one of the first things that came up to mind when you mentioned going through like the underwriting and him not seeing if it's on the market or on a canal and stuff like that, what I think might be useful, a couple of things, right? And this is
Mhm,
something that I'm actively building out um, actively right now, is having a checklist for
mhm,
every single possible decision that needs to be made with or without you, right?
mhm,
So one of the ways that you could set it up is you can have kind of like a documented process on all of his decision making and all of the liberties that he does have working alongside with you, right?
mhm, mhm,
Like stuff that he can do without asking Randy or bugging you for it, right?
right. Mhm,
Anything that's not on that list, he needs to run by you. But then when it
mhm,
comes to underwriting, I think probably having maybe like something visual where it's just kind of like, all right, main road, check, no, yes, no, whatever, however you want to formulate it, right?
right.
Um, Houses nearby, is it on the market? You know what I mean? Is it on a canal? Like just having those things that he kind of not, I wouldn't say messed up on, you know what I mean? But just a
Yeah.
checklist of things to make sure that every single opportunity that you analyze
Mhm.
is running through this checklist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another thing he says too is that when he's going through the underwriting process, and he says he needs to use a VPN, and then when he uses the VPN, it slows down his computer. So I guess when he's like on the GIS map, that's when he
Mm-hmm.
needs to use a VPN since he's in the Philippines. So I just told him for things like that, just run it by me. Just send it to
Okay.
me. I'll look it up real quick and just figure it out because I don't want
Got
that to be, the reason why we're missing things.
Yeah. And you also mentioned something else that I kind of want to add on to this as well too, is executing other basically exit strategies, right? Outside of
Mhm.
maybe just wholesaling to builders and things of that nature. This is something that I've pivoted to, and it's probably is working pretty well since we've have one, two, three, four, hopefully five coming in soon when these people sign this contract.
Nice.
Five contracts, basically almost like not necessarily having a builder in mind to selling them to, but just listing them on the open market as well too.
Mm-hmm.
flat fee. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm.
Obviously, the spreads have to be there in order for it to make sense if you're going to, do it that route.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also something. Were you on the call last Wednesday with Derby and the attorney?
No, but
Okay.
is it recorded? I mean, I know it's recorded. Is it posted?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll go
But I
back
can
and
do a brief
listen.
rundown of it right now. So basically, what I've been incorporating into my business, and I'll tell you why in a second. It's been happening to me a lot more, specifically with certain corporate builders, where they're reduced their pricing in the middle of our due diligence period, right?
Mm.
So, like for example, I had one in Port St. Lucie the other day where we were set to close next week, but their due diligence on the 9th, actually next Wednesday, their due diligence ended on March 26th. You know what email I got on March 25th?
The price
Hey,
reduction?
we need a 10K price reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And then so last minute because the seller works 12-hour shifts at a hospital. I couldn't get a hold of her in time. So the next
Mm-hmm.
day, bright and early in the morning, hey, here's our termination letter. Nothing we could do about it. And that's happened several times this year, right?
Did they give a reason why they had to lower their purchase price?
Market conditions. That's really it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really not much you could do about it from the standpoint of like, now granted, still selling to builders is still, lucrative for those who are still pushing through this turbulence that we're experiencing in the market, but it does make sense why they're adjusting the pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because their bottom line is affected by interest rates. So when interest
Mm-hmm.
rates are high, people can't afford so much of a house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, when rates are low, people got a bigger bag to spend. So now they're more aggressive when they're buying because they're trying to hurry up and quicken the turnaround. So one of the things, and Randy, please remind me. Don't be ashamed to double text me. I can send, and any of you guys who want this, you guys can reach out to me. The attorney that spoke last week on Wednesday call, she gave us like a marketing clause that we can use in our agreements that allows us to list it on the market. And I've been using a flat fee broker to do it.
Oh, okay. Can you share that information?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a nice pivot. Okay, I like that.
hmm And a quick point on top of that as well too. And this is no disrespect to anyone that has preached this in the past before. I could just tell you what I do is, there has been people that have said you need to sign or have the seller sign a power of attorney or an attorney in fact in order to be able to do this. I've heard that. Now, based on what my attorney said, now this is just how Francisco do this. She advised me not to do that. And because Francisco don't like being in anybody's courtroom or behind bars, I was like, you know what? As a litigation attorney, because that's what she handles is straight litigation, I'm gonna take your word on that. Say
Mhm.
less. And the reasoning behind that is because there's specifically in Florida. I do not know if this is like this anywhere else in other states. Please reach out to an attorney if you're going to consider doing this in whatever state you're in, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't go off of someone else's word because of a buzzword that they were throwing around, right?
Mhm.
So specifically in Florida, there's a statute that basically highlights very clearly that you cannot be a power of attorney or attorney in fact in a transaction that you have a vested interest in, especially a financial interest in. So that's the reason why she advised me not to do it that way. Now, in other states, I would definitely highly recommend please consider running that by an attorney, depending on what state you're doing deals in or what state you're operating in. But as far as Florida, there's a specific statute that says you cannot sign a power of attorney or attorney in fact on anything that you have an interest in, financial or vested interest. So just a heads up for those of you guys who want to explore that, please consult with an attorney about that. Sweet. So Randy, for you, I would definitely say create that checklist, maybe try to document all of the biggest checkpoints, and then also adding that marketing clause to be able to like list it on the market and go for retail buyers. Luckily, we had one that we signed late last week for 124, and then we're going to try to list it for 140. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that goes well.
That's nice.
Sweet. Anybody else? Anything that you need help on that's pressing that you need to be that can solve or make any progress in your business? Anything. Talking to sellers, preferably if y'all have sellers for me to talk to, I would definitely love to do that. I miss doing live calls again. But anything. Anybody want to go next? Before I start just going down the list.
Yo, what's up, Francisco?
What's going on, Griff?
Not much. Yeah, I don't really have anything specific as far as like the land business, but I've been getting a lot of sellers who also have homes. So like what I was thinking about doing, I haven't seen anybody really do it, but I was trying to build like a framework to do both homes and land, because like I realized a bunch of info lots, like the influence basically by the house prices in the neighborhood. And most of the sellers also want to sell their houses too. And the personnel working the deals, like the realtors, the buyers and stuff, are similar. So I was wondering, think about that, or would you advise against like handling both at the same time?
When you say framework, what kind of framework are you looking for? Like a sales framework?
Well, yeah, because I mean, you know how like they're basically different assets, and then when you look at land, you look at like the utilities, parking, and all that. But when you look at houses, it's like a set thing. It's a different thing. You look at ARV and stuff like that. I've been looking into it. So is it smart to like merge them and also like actively market for like tear downs and fix and flips while also doing infill lots in the same area and handle both assets at the same time? Is what I'm asking.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially if you're in a market that has a demand for infill development, right? Because there are some markets where there's just not enough land for people to do new construction, but there are plenty of tear downs in the area that they can tear down and either build vertical, build. Some people do like lot splits where they'll split the lot and then put two houses on it if that's popular or if the city allows it. But yes, I would definitely say that is something that you can do. And in Tampa specifically, there's a builder that does that in my market. So 33607 and 33609, he'll buy land or any tear downs in those particular markets. Because that's like 33607 and 33609.
609. Okay, baby. I'll check those out. But yeah, I appreciate it. I just want to see what's up because almost everybody I was looking at on like YouTube on it, there was always advising stay on one. Like they always talk down the other. Like land will say houses are too competitive. Houses will say land takes too long. Right. But
yeah,
we're doing both. So
yeah. If you're targeting the houses from a new development standpoint for like to pitch it to a developer for new construction, then I think it's a little bit less strenuous because you're not necessarily, you still got to calculate ARV and stuff like that. But you're really looking to get houses for the land value because the house is, it's not like they're fixing it up and reselling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking, fix and flips. Basically assigning all my deals right now till I get my revenue up. So
gotcha. Yeah, that ain't a bad idea. I would definitely say, and I think and Brandon, you was on the call when I've told this to other students as well, is right now, and Anthony kind of alluded to it in the chat, this might be something in other markets happening as well too, but the market is currently in a little bit of a downturn, right? Where prices are trending down. And what that means for us as wholesalers is we have to kind of like adapt to that. And one, the offers that we give, right? And then two, if our buyers are clearly updating their pricing and things of that nature, that's something that affects us naturally. You know what I mean? Right. So there's no crystal ball, but one of my mentors says that you got to kind of pretty much hit the puck where it's going, not where it's at right now. So analyzing deals and finding other methods of execution is definitely going to be kind of like very pivotal during this time.
Right. Appreciate you.
Yep. Anthony, go ahead.
One thing I find you have to be really good at too, and maybe have some suggestions on how to do it, is you have to educate your seller while you're negotiating with them. You have to let them know that the area is being affected by a price drop. You got to ask them if they've noticed that or they know about the area, because a lot of people have no idea. They just own the land. I've got one lady, she's in China right now. She has no idea, you know.
Yeah. No, that is 100% true. Is a part of our conversation does have to revolve around educating the customer if they're really serious about selling, right? Because most people have to understand that we're not coming up with these numbers out of thin air if we're doing it, at a high level. And then also understanding kind of like, and sometimes they will appreciate you even more for that, for just saying like, hey, you're probably going to get other offers that are higher than mine, but the ability to execute is what you really need to be looking forward to. Not someone promising you something of pricing that's 6 months old, a month old, that's not given this current condition, because it would be horrible for someone to say, yeah, I could give you $150,000 for something that's worth $90,000. But if they don't end up closing, that $150,000 is it's nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like we really want to have those conversations of like, listen, I'm willing to help you. I'm on board to help you. I'm willing to exhaust every single resource at my disposal to make sure we get to the closing table. But what I'm not able to do is overpromise and underdeliver. Especially I can't call you back and ask for a refund. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen or heard or met anyone that has successfully processed a refund on a real estate transaction. I can't come crying to you 6-7 months later, Mr. Seller, and saying I lost X amount of money buying this at a bad price. You're not going to feel sorry for me. So it's in my best interest to align my acquisitions with current market pricing.
Yeah, that's the old term, buyer beware.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, and then on their end, because some people, they want to have like this persona of like, oh, well, I'll just hold out. And there's been numerous of markets that been affected by market downturns that, and some of you guys might have experienced it, is sellers' biggest objection when it comes to price is, well, I paid X amount for this land. I'm not going to let it go for 20,000. Like there's markets, especially in Florida, where like, for example, people in like Port Charlotte, which is one of the reasons why I don't really like Port Charlotte like that. A lot of people paid $80,000, $100,000 for lots back in 05, 06 when the market was booming. That market now their lots selling for like 20 grand, 25, 30 grand. And people can't stomach that big of a loss.
No. Have you ever used the the tax deduction option?
Mm-mm.
You can, there's a form called an investment loss. I think it's 1090 D or C, but 1040 D or C. When you have if you buy something at a certain price with the intent of an investment going up, there's an investment loss form the government gives you. And you can take that form and put the property on it, take it to your tax accountant, and he will tell you how much you can deduct over 2 or 3 years. So I've got one right now I'm trying to work through, and it might work, but I'm getting almost
hold on, Anthony. Hold on, you just dropped the gem. I gotta find this form.
Yeah.
Investment what?
Investment loss, capital gains, capital loss form.
Investment loss tax deduction form. Voila, number 409. See, this is why community is important. Shout out to you, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, it may not work every time, but sometimes this one guy was just grumpy. He just wasn't going to lose 20 grand. You know what I mean? I'm offering him $1,200 for a property he paid 20 grand for. And I said, here's what I can do. Take it to your accountant, your attorney. It's legal. You get to deduct it over so many years against whatever you're making. You have to be making money, but it might work out. If not, I know several people have done it.
Yeah.
Just another way of doing something. You got to figure out. The biggest thing is trying to figure out how to make the deal work without driving yourself nuts, and that seems to be the most common thing. And just gonna keep trying.
I'm gonna put the direct IRS link for you guys if you guys want to read through this as well too, because this is also something that can be very useful for handling the objections of like, hey, I paid X amount for this lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to let it go for,
Mm-hmm.
extra amount. So I think that's definitely useful. Make sure you guys grab that in the chat and use that next time you have that objection. Because I didn't know that was actually a thing, honestly. So thank you, Anthony, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Sweet.
Where does I can't see that terminology? You put it on there yet for the you're talking about being able to sell the property? I'll list the property.
Yep. Email it to email me. I'm gonna put my email in the chat for answer.
Okay.
And then I could send it to you, so that way everybody can.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. And what state do you operate in?
Arizona, Arkansas, Texas, Florida,
Gotcha.
Mississippi, and Alabama.
Sweet. Matter of fact, you just gave me an idea of another guest that we can have on. Well, matter of fact, no, because Hugh advises something that I probably don't want you guys to do. But what I would do in those states, just to make sure you cover, when I send you the disclosure, and everybody else, please do this exact same thing. If you email me about this, get with an attorney to either expound on it or make sure they understand the rules and regulations of whatever that market is in. So. Because and the reason why we did a call on this the other day, and this is my thought process behind being so gung-ho about making sure you guys speak to an attorney, is a lot of wholesalers, and maybe they do it unintentionally, right? They share misinformation, people execute on that information. And my thought process was like, I don't want to be the person that gets caught doing something wrong when everybody else done it 100 times. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like, I never want to be that person. So I sought out the information, and that's what, it's a common thing, especially if you go to a lot of networking events. They tell you like, oh, you can novate the property, or you can do a novation. That's been a buzzword that's been thrown around a lot. And maybe you guys care about this, maybe you don't, but novate, or the word novation, is just Latin for replace or replacement. So having a novation clause or a novation agreement doesn't necessarily give you the right to just list the property, right? And it's also legal semantics as well too, because you're technically marketing your interest in the purchase contract, not the property itself. It's two different things, right? And then they've also, when it comes to like novations, they've said, multiple people, like, hey, just sign attorney in fact or whatever. Again, make sure that, I wouldn't advise to do it, but make sure you consult with whatever attorney to make sure that you're not signing something that can be used against you. And the attorneys put it beautifully. Anytime you're dealing with like contractual agreements, you want to kind of like read it from the standpoint of like being in front of a judge and a jury. And fun fact, your average juror or jury, however they pronounce it, the average juror has a middle school education. So if you're ever in a contractual dispute and you got to go to court and it's up to a pool of jury of your peers, the average juror has a middle school education, just as a fun fact. So your fate is essentially in the hands of those 12 people that may or may have not graduated even high school.
Yeah, and how well the lawyers can twist the words, because it's not who's right or wrong, who makes the best story.
Correct. So definitely, because real estate is one of those industries that is on the list of, there's a lot of lawsuits, and I've almost had to go through one because of a contract dispute, having a seller back out and stuff like that, and even filing memorandums and stuff like that. Going to court is expensive. So when you do add these clauses,
you file a memorandum on your property when you get the listings all the time, or just sometimes?
So now I had to put a clause, which is why I spoke to this attorney. I had to get with her, and this is how I ended up building this relationship with her. I filed a memorandum on a property that a seller backed out on me on, right, 3 years ago. At the end of 2024, they send me a letter saying, hey, release this lien, very nicely. And my response was, hey, either honor the original purchase agreement. And at the time, it was like $42,000 in Palm Coast, Florida. And then, or second option is just pay me 10 grand and I'll go away. They gave me the middle finger and was like, F you. They got a lawyer, and the lawyer started like, I wouldn't say harassing me, but he sent me like a lot of letters demanding like, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to go to court. So then, I got an attorney involved. I basically told her like, hey, this is what happened. They backed out. I filed a memorandum. And this is what I paid her $2,000 for her to tell me. You did the right thing in the wrong way. So apparently in Florida, you cannot file a memorandum. I had to file a lease pendants that basically said the exact same thing that a memorandum would say. So the argument that would have went to court was, hey, you backed out of a contract you backed out of a contract. That is why I put the memorandum on it. Their argument would have been, well, yeah, we backed out of the contract, but you filed the wrong paperwork. So technically it's invalid. So now it's in the contract, and I can pull it up, the one that I use, or the term in here now. It pretty much, the seller authorizes me to put a lease pendants or a memorandum with or without their approval in the event of they backing out or things of that nature, which is another thing that I've added to my contracts as well too. So a lot of this varies state to state, and I'm going to copy it. And I can
Are
copy
you in Florida?
Yeah, I'm in Florida.
I've had something happen in Florida that I haven't had happen hardly anywhere else. I've had 2 contracts now where the person went to me, I signed the contract, got it listed, had it in the process of being closed. Another person came and offered them a little more money, and they closed. They went with that guy, and I didn't have the lease pendants or anything filed, so it closed on their deal.
Oh yeah, that is horrible.
Yeah. So be aware of that. This happens a lot in Florida.
Memorandum or affidavit is the terminology that I use. And again, this has all been drafted by an attorney, but I would still recommend you guys consult legal counsel. They are like the best, highest paying friends to have, so you don't end up in court or jail. I gladly pay her invoice every time she says it to me. So sweet. Anthony, before we move on, anything that you need help on in your business, talking to leads or anything?
I'm just trying to figure. I kind of took a break for a little bit, and I got a little bit of rusty feet. I'm trying to get back in the flow. I just started saying out thing. I'm trying to, and then like I said, that's about when the market started changing in Florida too. So I'm trying to figure out the new pricing area, what's the best way to do it, and where to be. I was in Lehigh Acres for a long time, and Lehigh Acres seems to be oversaturated right now.
Oh man, tell me about it. I don't know if you've been on previous calls where I was talking about land stats. Oh, okay.
What is it called?
Land stats.
Land, is that a service?
No, it's a website. So let me show you. And guys, I do not get paid from Land Stats, nor do I have any affiliation. But if I did, I'd probably be their #1 affiliate. But I love Land Stats. I literally use it for everything. So one of the features that they have is a heat map, right? And we need to probably spend like a whole month just diving into how to use Land Stats, right? So one of the things that I like to do is you can do it by state or by county, which I prefer. I recommend you do it by county. Boom. And then it'll give you a heat map of all of the areas that are basically there's a lot of activity in, right? So you see on the corner, the county level sold, all acres, and inventory count right here. And then now here's the one knock that I will say. I'm probably a little bit colorblind, but I can hardly tell the difference between these two colors. The first ones, it's like dark orange and light orange. So it's like when you see it on the screen, it's just kind of like, okay, maybe this is a little bit darker than this one, but they look the same to me a little bit. I don't know if it's just me, but shoot me out in the comments if it's just me. Maybe you guys can see something else. But other than that, it tells you where the heat, the hot spots are, right?
Okay.
And then you can even go by, you see how it says 0 to 1 acres, 1 to 2 acres. You can literally do it like that. And then you can do show selected filters. And then you see you see statistics right here. You can go through here. You can go through inventory count. You can go through, I personally like to do sell-through rate. is what I would look at, sell-through rate. And then you can do this nationwide. It's probably not going to work well in non-disclosure states, as you can see, because they're not going to, do the disclose the pricing. But you can see it even in Alabama. You clearly know where not to go. Probably not going to be anywhere here. Probably not going to be anywhere there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was not aware there are disclosure, non-disclosure, and there's partially disclosure states where 2 or 3 counties decided they don't want to tell anybody.
Exactly. And then you also have like, let's just say you're doing infield, you can like go 0 to 1, and then you can see the heat map for the infield stuff. Now, the reason why I like sell-through rate, and you want to think of sell-through rate kind of like when you're looking at a market, you can look at the same thing on Zillow, by the way. And I'll show you guys this in just a second. But sell-through rate is pretty much the way you will know that there's a lot of demand in the market is if there has been more sold properties than listed properties in a given time. Does that make sense? So when you go to Zillow, and I'll show you what that looks like here. Let's use this example, right? And again, this could be used when you're picking markets or whatever. Union County. Oh no, I'm sorry, Bradford. What is it? Whatever this is. We'll go there. Okay, Bradford County, right? And then we go to sell-through rate. If you look at it, sell-through rate is just the amount sold divided by how many is for sale. And then you see that right here as well too. So if you go for sale in the last 30 days for 0 to 1, you see 4, right? For sale. Then if you go to sold for 30 days, you also see 4. What you want to see is you want to see this number in sold greater than the for sale on any given time frame. You know what I mean? So 90 days, you got 4 for sale in the last 90 days, but 14 unsold in the last 90 days. And that's still 0 to 1 acres. So that's letting you know that if you price it correctly, within 90 days, you should be in and out listing it. You follow me?
Yeah.
If you price it incorrectly, your ass can be sitting on the market for a long time.
I've done that.
That's not what we want. But you can tell that there's some form of demand there if there's way more and then you know what's crazy is when I was learning this, I paid someone to kind of like consult me through it. And I'm like, he gave me like the most crazy analogy. And I was like, I probably won't use that analogy, but it made sense. But essentially think of like markets like this. If you start off the day, let's just say you're selling lemonade, right? If you start off the day with like 10 bottles of lemonade, but then by the end of the day, you ended up selling 15, that means at one point you had to go back and get 5 more extra bottles till you done sold out. So what does that tell you about your lemonade business?
Need more lemonade bottles.
Right, but as far as like, what's the word that I'm trying to use? Fuck it.
And it might be priced a little bit. I might be priced a little bit low.
Price low, but then there's a demand for your lemonade, right? In that given time frame. And then same thing where it's just like if you start the day with 10, but you only done sold 3 bottles of lemonade. Now what does that that tells you that the demand for your lemonade at that particular time is low. Right? So now if you see like a whole bunch of for sales and then very little unsold, that lets you know that stuff ain't really moving like that. There's a saturation of sellers, not enough buyers. But when it's in reverse, you got way too many, but you got tons of buyers, not enough sellers. And then you have some markets where it's like it's at an impasse. It's very equally balanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
those are normally hard to get deals in though.
Oh yeah. But when you do get deals and you price them correctly, it's falling off the shelves. And then our goal, and then Nick said this beautifully as well too, which is another reason why I love Landstats, and that's why I keep using it, is like what we do, it's almost like fishing. You get what I'm saying? Where it's like if our boat is in a lake where there's 50 other boats, it's not going to be an abundance of fish to catch. You know what I mean? However, if we can find a lake where I ain't hear a lot of people talking about this lake over here. Let me go over there to that lake and see if I can catch some fish. You might go to another lake in, I don't know, let's just say Tennessee. You might find a market in Tennessee where it's like, wow, I don't really think a lot of people talking about this. You might be in an area where that's a wide open blue ocean for you. You catch all the fish you need.
Yeah.
But this is something, because it's obviously a lot of counties you got to go through. You got to go through it. You know what I mean? But this is how we fish for.
Do you use AI at all?
Yes and no. I've tried to use AI to like help me find markets and things of that nature for like real estate, but I don't know if it was really accurate, to be honest.
It's how, a lot of it's how you ask the questions. Like I ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions, period, because I want to know what I don't know. But I ask AI something like, give me how many counties are in, let's say Virginia. Then I'll say, give me the top 25 fastest growing counties in Virginia, and then it'll list it. It'll list them in order with percentages, right? So then I try to pick out of that sometimes what I'm doing.
Yes, and that's also a good resource as well too, because it's like we need to just be able to find, going back to the analogy, lakes that we can fish in, where it's not oversaturated with other people, but it's also still plenty of demand there for us to execute.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this. You popped up on my email. So how often do you do this?
Every Tuesday, faithfully.
Okay. I'll put you on my calendar.
Yep.
I think I've been here twice so far. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Anthony. Anybody else have any other questions?
I am.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So on Zoom, I'm figuring, because I see land stats as 99 a month, and I'm sorry. Like eventually I want to be able to, fit that in my budget. So I'm assuming the Zoom way would be to see how many were sold versus how many are for sale in the 30-day, 90-day period.
Yes, ma'am. So I can actually show you how to do the exact same thing on Zillow for free, because Zillow is free. So somebody drop a market in the chat.
Macon, Georgia.
Macon, okay. All right, boom. So you see Macon. Let me make sure. Let's do, you do land or houses?
Land.
Land, okay, perfect. So land, let me make sure my filters are off. Apply, boom. And then we see you got 170 for sale, right? So another way to kind of determine another hot area, right, based on the demand, is how many done sold. Boom. 621 unsold.
Oh, wow.
And if you go, and that was just if you want to do let's do 12 months, just so we can kind of get a good, view. We got 184 unsold. Got 141 for sale. So a little over double of lots that get listed, more ends up selling in a 12-month period.
Okay.
And that's all Landstats is showing you. It just saves you, it shows you
a couple. It shows you counties you wouldn't even think of either,
Right. Yeah. So there is a little, it's like, like comparisons, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get too technical with the technical jargon, but Landstats just gives you the ability to see data in multiple different ways. That's all. So yeah, but the same way Zillow has a map is very similar to Landstats map. It's just the data is given to you based on how you want to see it, and then that's like a good principle to kind of like test supply and demand. based on it. And of course, you can go granular within zip codes or certain pockets, you know what I mean, of, let's just say, Macon. But
Mhm.
Macon as a whole, you could see that the demand supersedes the supply, which is initially what you're looking for.
And here on this map, it doesn't show pockets. It looks scattered.
Correct, right.
So
And
there's
then
not no
Landstats,
particular hotspot.
right. And then Landstats just showing you, like, you can even do, you see where it says market research on here?
Hmm.
Let me go to Zillow. I'm gonna just pick some random zip code. Let's just say, boom, 84 acres, 405,000. That is crazy.
That's good, right?
That, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Boom, Macon, Georgia. And then it will show you the same thing from a zip code standpoint. And this is just that particular zip code.
Mm.
So you got, let's just say 90 days, 6 went up for sale, 90 days, 2.
Mm.
And that's, again, just in this particular zip code in Macon, right? And then on the left-hand side where you see the acre counts, 5 to 10 acres, 10 to 20 acres,
Mhm.
you see what, 10 to 21 sold in 12 months. One got listed.
Mm.
Not a lot of motion going on in this particular zip code Macon. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then if you go on the smaller scale with the infield stuff, you got 12 lots that went up for sale in a year. You got 13 sold in a year,
Mm.
smaller cell. So depending on the market, depending on pricing, depending on location, right? There could be a very chance that if you do list something on the market, you might still be there a year, waiting for it to sell.
Mm. In that zip code. Yeah.
In that, yes, in that particular, in this 31216 zip code.
Mm. So I kind of like realized that I received the notification in my email just a few minutes ago. That's why I'm hopping on so late. But every Tuesday at 1:00, is it we're going over marketing for land and homes?
Yeah, land, houses, anywhere that we could be a resource to, and you don't have to just be a client of lead mining. You know what I mean? Next week we're gonna have. Sometimes we also have guests as well too. So
Mhm.
sometimes we have guests come on, and then me personally, what I like to do if I have like the time and you guys have the time, is me personally, if it was up to me, we will be like on calls with sellers every time. Bring your leads and I'll call them for you. If it was
I'm
up,
with that.
you
Oh,
know what I mean? But obviously we want to diversify, other people want to learn. There's people in different, phases of their business, but I'm all about like helping people make money and also making money with people. So it's like,
mhm.
I definitely want to encourage people to be like, yo, it's out there. We just got to execute on it. You know what I mean? And it's
Mhm.
like, and I've been very big on like collaborating and partnerships, because it's very daunting to do this type of business yourself, especially when you're like your primary form of marketing is cold outreach. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I always definitely recommend, whether it's like a community like this, or someone that generally has a passion for like helping people, if you can get aligned with them, it's skyrockets.
Well, I just want to say up front, I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thank you for your service.
No problem. I think we started doing this last May, and I could probably count on one hand how many times I missed this meeting. Probably like once or twice.
Okay. Oh.
Yo,
What
Francisco.
up, bro? Yes, sir.
Yeah, on that last thing you just showed about the county you looked up and you said like the demand was double what's selling, I mean what's for sale. Would
Hmm.
that actually like I heard that if it's like double like that, that might not necessarily be a good market because it might be too competitive. Everything that goes on there just flies off the shelf in a sense. Or
So now here's my take on how I view competitiveness,
okay.
right? Um, how do I put this? It's almost like when you I like to think of the market as like open season. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of moving pieces in any given market. You got brokers, you got agents, you got wholesalers, you got investors, or you got builders, developers. There's so many even retail buyers, right? There's so many people out there that are moving the needle in the market where it's kind of like hard to compete with them from a like, how do I get to a deal fast enough standpoint? You know what I'm saying? When I look at competitiveness, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like, I'm trying to improve my skill set so I can execute on more opportunities, not necessarily thinking about like competitiveness from the standpoint of like someone else is going to beat me to a lead first. You get what I'm saying? Another way I look competitiveness is like efficiency to getting deals as opposed to just getting deals. Because not one person can do all the deals in any given market because there's just too much land and too much opportunity out there for just one person or one entity to just absorb themselves. Right. Now, what I will say is when it comes to like market demand, that's different than competitiveness or oversaturated. You get what I'm saying? It's like if there's a lot of people that want something, the demand is naturally going to be high, right? So, yes, in theory, you'll be competing against other people, but you're really competing against demand. You follow me? Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so the more stuff I get, and I have a more chance of selling something.
Correct. We're just like sometimes a lot of our competition isn't even other people, it's just the demand of what the consumer wants, whether it's builders that need to meet the demand for their developments,
Mhm.
whether it's a regular person that just wants to buy land so he can put his trucks on, or whatever the case may be. A lot of our competition is just demand because the last thing what we will want is to be in a market where everybody wants to sell but nobody wants to buy.
Right.
We'll be getting deals locked up left and right, but we ain't got nobody to sell them to. So because of the demand of people wanting it so great, sometimes it may feel like a market is oversaturated, but you're really just competing against the demand of whatever consumer is out there trying to consume the product. You know what I mean?
So anytime basically the demand is equal to what's for sale or higher is good to go, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. So you want the demand to supersede the supply because now like if you do get a deal, now one, you could sell it quickly. And then now you have to kind of like perfect the art of getting these deals to the closing table so they can sell quickly. You know what I mean?
Sure, appreciate it.
So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And
does. I just want something different, so I just wanted to clarify so I don't miss out on deals if there are deals there.
yep. And another kind of theory that kind of like eased my mind on oversaturatedness.
Mhm.
Price is law. Yes. On you guys' spare time,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever went into too much detail. I just put it in the chat. Look up this theory called Price's Law. Has anybody ever heard of that? No?
That's the first
But
time.
all right. So basically, it's this theory that this guy created that basically suggests that 50% of any output in any given field comes from the square root of the total number of contributors. So let's just say we have 10 people in a room, 50% of the production, or let's think about it in market terms, right? So Price's Law basically says if there's 100 people in a given market, 50% of the production will come from 10 people.
But
that applies, this also, which is also crazy, is this also applies to like non-living organisms and animals itself as well too. So Price's Law is a very, very interesting theory when it comes to like, when you're thinking about like big arenas where there's a lot of people and a lot of like moving parts. Price's Law perfectly highlights oversaturatedness and competitiveness. So there's 100 people, literally only 10 people will be responsible for 50% of the production. The other 50% will be responsible from the 90, or divided up amongst 90 other people.
Word. Appreciate that.
So just a fun fact for you guys to kind of look up. And then once I heard someone broke it down, it was Myron Golden, who broke it down, who I first heard talk about this. You guys should definitely listen to him if you ever have a chance. When he broke this down, I was like, damn, competition is like almost irrelevant if you take this and apply it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Appreciate you. I love Myron. I listen to him too.
So yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Carolyn, yes, these calls will be recorded. I actually was catching up on all of the recordings today in the community group. So let me show you guys where it's at. It's in Nick's Circle community. And then if you go to group trainings, I just added some of them for 2025. So they'll be here. So we did have a little bit, and just heads up, we did have a little bit of an issue with Zoom on Nick's account, where we had to kind of like try to retrieve the archives of like old recordings, because the settings weren't like, they weren't recording to the cloud, and they were recording to his computer instead. So we had to like try to backdate some of them and get them. So, but yeah, they'll be posted there in the community as well too. Yeah, lead mining with where will there be at, and then I'll probably post a link on in Derby's community as well too. Like matter of fact, I probably need to send this this link in Derby's community. Reason being is because Nick clears out his Zoom recording every so often. So if I like send the Zoom link, it might not be there if you try to go back to it. Does that make sense? So what we're doing is we download them after they finish processing, and then we upload them to YouTube, and then that YouTube link gets embedded into the Circle community. So that way it's always there. But yeah, and matter of fact, let me drop the link to the Circle community so you guys can have access to the Zoom recordings. And this should take you to the Circle community right here. I'm about to drop the link. Oh, shit. Just drop the link in the chat for you guys. Once this recording finished processing as well too, it'll be posted in the Circle community as well too. Sweet. All right, so as we wrap up, guys, just to kind of put a bug in your ear, anything that you guys need in regards to, what about calls with your sellers? Would that be on there too? Yes, there's actually a call I did. There was one we did last year where people brought in their leads. Dennis, there was a guy named Dennis that brought a lead. He brought a lead in Port St. Lucie. And when Dennis got on the phone with him, the seller was told Dennis the most he will take is 160. I got on the phone when Dennis brought the lead, and it's in the recording as well too. I got him to at least consider the thought of 140. Then it was up to Dennis to follow up with him and close him, because not every lead that we bring on is going to be ready to go right then and there. But at least if they're able to, be realistic and hear us out, and then just working them through the sales process, that's what you guys could see if you guys bring your leads live. And then if it happens to close and you guys benefit from it, you keep all the proceeds from it. Real quick with the new texting laws, how many sellers are you texting a day? I'll probably send no more than maybe like 200, 300 messages a day, if that. And then what I specifically do is I will pause the campaign until our messages are like cleared from our inbox, and then I'll resume. But I don't have them running 24/7. Nor would I be, and this is just me, someone else might be different. I'm not a big fan. I don't think it's efficient for one person to send out mass messages and be able to also respond to them quickly as well too. You know what I mean? So me personally, I taper it. I'll probably do 200 to 300 a day. No weekends, no Sundays, like Caroline says. And then what I'm more concerned about is just how quick we're able to respond to leads that are interested, is what I'm more concerned about, more than how many. Some people drive people down this path of thinking that if I send a lot of messages, I'll get a lot of deals, and that's not the case. You know what I mean? The perfect analogy that I like to put is you take however many people you have in your personal cell phone right now, out of it, especially if you had your number for a long time, if everybody in your phone texts you right now, would you be able to get back to everyone quickly? If the answer is no, I probably wouldn't do that with complete strangers either. You get what I mean? Like there's like a whole system, especially if you got to especially if someone is interested in selling, you got to underwrite the deal. You got to make sure it's, a good fit before you give them an offer. You got to even see if it's worth your time to even present it to a builder or whatever the case may be. So yeah, like Sadia was saying, 2,000 to 3,000 sounds good, but realistically, you probably want to be, I would say 200 to 300 a day. But if you want to push it, 5 to 1,000 would also do the job as well too, as long as you have a good routine to get to the message quickly, is what I would say. Sweet. All right, perfect. So, all right, so we can go ahead and wrap up for today. I'll go ahead and wait till the Zoom recording is done processing, and then this will be up in Nick's Circle community by end of day today. Okay, guys? And then we'll be back next week, same time, same place, 2 p.m. EST, 1 p.m. Central Time, if you guys are in Central Time. But yes, we'll be back next week, and have a good rest of your week, guys. Talk to you later.
So appreciate it.
Mhm.